No.
2025. That's the year to start. Last year was the battle. This year is about reaping the rewards and spreading the wealth. That's what we want to see.
Because, you know, the alternative is, the guillotine.
And we don't want that.
I mean, I do.
You want that. I would like a peaceful revolution.
Yeah. That would be great.
I'm Kale from Cinestruct, and I'm here with Alex Bergman. It's 2025. Happy New Year, Alex. Happy New Year, everyone. Today, we want to talk about things we'd like to see for the indie film community and the filmmaking community at large in this new year, in 2025, and what might be some of our resolutions on our professional front. We want to partner with more film festivals. We want to meet more filmmakers and just continue to build up the filmmaking community in our own little way. Alex, before we jump into some of the big picture things, do you have any professional resolutions on your end?
Yeah. This is the year that I'm going to, I don't know, accomplish my dreams in spite of the adversity we face. It's a major goal of mine to push past the difficulties of our industry, and especially of being a small fry in that industry, and figure out ways in which people like you and myself and our viewers can succeed, can leverage our disadvantage to pave a way forward into a new world.
Yeah, these days I think it's all about charting your own path because everyone's trying to figure out what the industry looks like right now. Everybody's trying to figure out what the future for entertainment looks like, for filmmaking, for distribution. And if you're not thinking about how to navigate it outside of the established pathways, then you're just going to get left behind. So I'm all about that, Alex. I am all on board with all of that. So there's a couple things that I personally wanted to see more of, just thinking about filmmaking and looking back at 2024. One thing that I kept seeing coming up was new ways to think about distribution, and in particular, Tubi kind of got more into the zeitgeist. I kept hearing from filmmakers as I've been meeting folks like, oh, Tubi, I might be distributing the Tubi. And I listened to an interview with the CEO of Tubi, who, by the way, used to run Vimeo. So
Oh, I did not know
you didn't
that.
you didn't realize that?
No.
She ran Vimeo, I think back in the late 2010s, around that period, basically when they transitioned from trying to compete with YouTube to basically being a business suite for people that do videos, basically a platform for companies to do videos. So she's the one who basically led that initiative to kind of make that switch for Vimeo. And in the past couple of years, she went to Tubi and has been basically helping to build up Tubi and is now trying to get into Tubi being a competitor for basically streaming, of course, ad-supported streaming.
Right.
Alex, you brought up some time ago when we were chatting, YouTube is, looks like it's trying to do a couple more things with distributing content and getting more into that game. Is that something that you're curious about in terms of what YouTube is doing?
I'm really curious about what YouTube's doing. They have set up their platform in which you can organize um, your your web series or the things you've created. You can organize it into seasons and shows, so it reads a lot more like a Netflix or a typical streamer's TV output. So creators are leveraging this medium to appeal to the largest viewer base in the world, which is YouTube's viewer base. And from what I just read, 10% of television shows are being watched on YouTube now. I mean, Google's a sleeping giant. They kind of own the internet. So it's amazing they've taken this long, but I think they've laid the groundwork to sweep the television category. Hopefully, it leads to a democratization of the medium and allows for underdog creators to make their own shows and make them profitable, in which they can self sustain. I'm really keen to play with it. I've shot stuff in the past that I would love to put up there and or continue via the YouTube medium. So I think it's a cool, exciting time, and it shows the shifting paradigms where we don't have to just look at these giant corporate streamers and hope that we can place there and hope that they compensate us accordingly.
Yeah, and YouTube is a natural place for distributing this content because, I mean, we've had web series that broke through YouTube and Vimeo technically at the time, where people would just put up their stuff and it would, find an audience. So I was always surprised that YouTube didn't lean more into it. I guess they just saw that there wasn't as much money there versus just going after the YouTube creator, quote unquote, versus the professional filmmakers. But I think maybe they're coming around now because they see, you know, how Netflix is doing, how all the other companies are just into streaming, and I figure they're just throwing in their hat.
Makes sense.
The other thing that I wanted to see in 2025, so of course funding is always like the biggest challenge for independent filmmakers. How do you get the funds to make your thing? And there are, I think, interesting models that can be had. I do see some folks like exploring interesting models for funding. For instance, there is this organization, the Film Fund, and I met with Thomas last year from the Film Fund. And their model basically is you can submit, you pay like $25 or $35 to basically submit just the log line for, let's say, the short film that you want to make. And they will review all the submissions. And if you're one of the winners, you'll win basically between 5 and 10 grand as basically a production grant to make your thing. So I was talking to Thomas from the Film Fund about how that all works, and he's been doing it for a couple of years, but we were both in agreement. We want to see more stuff like that. We want to see more funding initiatives. We want to see just more out of the box thinking in terms of how to fund your film, how to get development funds. Something that we're doing with Synstruct is looking more at the business sponsorship model and seeing if that can be a way to get funds to filmmakers by tapping into the business community. Um, so that's something that I'd like to see more personally. Um, in terms of, helping filmmakers to make their stuff beyond the funding question, I know there's a bunch of challenges. What are some of the challenges that you hope get tackled in terms of making it easier for filmmakers to get to make their stuff?
Like every year, I would love to see the studios chip off some of their massive funds that they dedicate to sequels and existing IP, and uh, throw some chips over to simpler ideas, more adult ideas, or movies for grown-ups. We're seeing these small indie uh, distributors and people like Neon and A24 making great movies left and right. It'd be cool to see the studios also participate in that action just like they used to. Just a spreading of the peanut butter across the bread of America and giving giving back to us and to themselves some credibility in storytelling and the viewers. I think we all desire more than just your typical fare, and we're having to go outside of Hollywood's box to find it. I think Hollywood's missing out on a lot of potential goodwill and revenue by creating these stories.
Yeah, they certainly are. Um, I think a good place to see some of that stuff, of course, is, festivals and looking at what's going on in the international market. Do you have any advice? Because the one thing I love about you, Alex, is your depth of knowledge about just, I feel like any film that I bring up, you know about it or have seen. Um, for folks that want to find unique films that kind of outside of the bounds of what Hollywood is, putting their weight behind, like where should we look for that stuff?
That's a great question. Um, and I'm actually finding gaps in my own knowledge at this point because when people recommend the 10 best movies of the year, a lot of them are obscurities. I don't even know if they came out in theaters or where they streamed or what the deal is, but people are on the ground actively looking and finding these gems out there. I generally hear about them in best of years and best of the years lists, and later on when it's time for Oscar season and stuff. But they're not right in front of our faces. They're not on the streamers. They require active seeking out. They're not being properly marketed and distributed if they're not making it to the public's ears. And these are apparently the best movies of the year. Um, so I'm at a loss myself. I would love to hear in the comments, where do you find these movies? Um, because they're not in front of our face. Um, and I want to see them, but just seeking out and finding good movies is a full-time job. Maybe it's finding them at festivals, but you really got to keep your ear to the ground.
Yeah, that's so true. I listen to a podcast that I listen to is the Filmcast, and they recently did their top 10, the host did their top 10 films, and probably I would say 70% of those films I literally never heard of.
Yeah.
And the reason why know some of those films and had the opportunity to watch some of those films is because they get screeners because the companies send them screeners so that they'll talk about it, but we don't get access to some of that stuff. In some cases, some of those films haven't picked up distribution yet. So it feels like such a missed opportunity to learn about these amazing films. And, you know, it's like, hey, how can I watch that? And why didn't I know about it before, you know?
That's what I'm saying. It's yeah, you got to be in the industry and receiving screeners, and I mean, there's obviously no money being made by the films or the filmmakers, so uh, I don't know. There's a clear lack of uh, awareness in distribution, and we're all suffering for it. If I'm not hearing about those movies and you're not hearing about them, like the general public is never going to hear about them, and we have to search and track down every one of these nuggets of gold. It's like it's a job. I'm trying to look up right now the John Waters top 10 of the year list because I heard of maybe two of them. I'm like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
exactly. There's some incredible sounding films, and it's like, man, I have no idea. There was another one, an Indian film, that is in a lot of critics' top 10 or top 5 of the year. And I'm like, I've literally heard nothing about this film. Um, Although I did see that it's screening, or it was screening nearby, but very limited release. So
Yeah, which one?
it's called the Indian film, something about the light. Let me see.
Oh yeah, all the light we cannot see or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that one. It's literally in everybody's top 10. And I'm like, when
Yeah,
did this
where
movie come
where did
out?
they see it?
Well, they got private screeners. That's how they saw it. Or it was at like a big prestige festival, um, where,
People are telling me to watch the Iranian one. God, I forget the title. And I'm like, that sounds great. The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Uh, but it's not available yet for rental online. So I'm like, where did you see it? The theater? Did it come out at the theater? I didn't notice. I'm sure your everyday person doesn't know about that. So I don't know. These movies have a longer lifespan. They hope to get some recognition when it comes to award season. So maybe people see it on VOD in 6 months.
but even in that case, I feel like it kind of leaves people's minds. Like you'll hear about these films in the top 10, and then months go by and it might get a mention and during award season, and then a few months later they'll finally lock in distribution, and then by that time there's a whole host of new movies that have already come out, and then those films have already gotten lost.
Exactly. And you're like, well, I guess I kind of missed out on the opportunity and now I don't have to watch it because we're on to the next
On to the next.
piece of prestige.
But yeah, there's all these films, and yeah, talk about challenges. Just like one of the things that I want to see for this new year is just like easier way to watch stuff. Like we've never had an easier time having access to millions of films. Like literally, you turn on these days, you turn on your TV, you tap into the internet, and you have a whole catalog of films that you can never get to. But it also feels so overwhelming because of that fact. And you lose a lot of opportunity to watch a lot of quality stuff because it gets drowned out. So I want to see a pathway to be able to watch more quality stuff without being a scavenger.
I think you kind of have to be a scavenger. Um, well, not a You're a scavenger if you have all the streaming platforms. And so my New Year's resolution is part of an ongoing campaign to feed myself a diet of healthier movies. I have my Blu-ray collection over here, uh, but I've also been just canceling these streaming services. Canceled Netflix, canceled Apple, um, everything but I keep Criterion because Criterion has great stuff. But every streaming service, it's too easy. You turn on your TV, and tonight you want to watch a great movie. You may want to watch one of these top 10 movies you see everyone posting. But instead, you end up watching uh, Carry On or
Yeah.
whatever Netflix original, aka direct to video movie. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. These are not real movies. They look like movies and they sound like movies, but they're just once in a while you get a great one, fine. Um, but for the most part, they're just content, and it's so easy to just turn on the television and choose content over actually searching out for something good. You do this day after day and week after week. It's the same as eating fast food every day. You're going to make yourself sick in the body if you eat fast food every day. It's the same with your mind. You need to feed yourself good quality ingredients, good, interesting, thought provoking cinema. Otherwise, your brain is just going to rot.
Yeah. And man, it's so funny that you brought that up because I was listening to something the other day and they were talking about some of the films and TV shows that have been getting released and like Carry On, where it's literally just a facade. It's it's basically saying we've collected all this information to learn that if we make a film about something traumatic happening at an airport or on a plane, people will watch it because people are just drawn to that kind of thing. And then you get so many different variations on that concept, and it feels vapid.
I mean that movie, everyone on the internet's like, "Oh, Carry On's really solid, fun thriller. You should watch it." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I like a good solid fun thriller." Um, I turned it on. It's DreamWorks, right? So, okay, there's some prestige there. They make good stuff. It looks very good. It's like looks like 2000s contrasty, almost grainy quality action thriller type vibes. But I mean, it just looks like the script was written by AI. The character relationships are your typical first 5 page husband wife's pregnant banter, like stakes. It's like watching Save the Cat play out. And I got 5 minutes in, I'm like, no, this is just content. Once again, I'm out. Um, I I just don't have time for it. There's a million great movies I gotta watch, and I don't have time to watch those, let alone some speed bumps on the way, like Carry On or whatever whatever fake movies they put on there.
Just one other thing on this topic that that I also don't understand, and maybe you have some insight into this, Alex, but some of these films, and it does disproportionately come from Netflix, are from great directors. Like, it's not like these directors are slouches, but you watch some of what they release on a Netflix, and it does feel like direct to video, just like very by the books, and ultimately, in my opinion, boring cinema in some cases. And I've always wondered what happens in that whole process, even with really talented filmmakers and directors, where the magic is lost.
The great directors are the only ones I personally have seen release stuff on Netflix that's actually quality. Um, Personally, I love The Killer from last year, the Fincher movie. I thought that was sort of like a return to form for Fincher. I loved Hitman, the Linklater movie. I I loved May December. I thought was terrific. So while I shit on Netflix, I just named three great Netflix movies, but those were made by great auteur filmmakers who, go against the trends or the algorithms, or just are allowed to do their own things. But I don't see other people being allowed to do their own things, or maybe they're just happy to have a gig, or maybe that's why they're not great directors, is because uh, they'll go and make a direct to video Netflix movie without pushing the boundaries that turn something trite into something classic.
There's one in particular. This wasn't from 2024. I think it came out earlier. Leave the World Behind. I don't know if you saw that one.
I didn't see it.
It was from Sam Ishmael. I bet I'm mispronouncing his name probably. But I mean, I really enjoy his work, like the series stuff that he's done. And Leave the World Behind, the premise was good. It was kind of like a Twilight Zone type vibe. And I was like, everything on a technical level was great. On a script level was, I would say, okay. Um, but it also felt like something was missing where it like just didn't go that extra 10%. And if it had gone that extra 10%, then it would have just been like those other films that you mentioned, like The Killer and Hitman, that were great. And I'm like, I mean, every director has a hit or a miss, and this wasn't a miss, but it was like, oh, it wouldn't have taken that much more to make it just incredible.
And maybe that's the sign of a great director, is in spite of in this case lack of adversity, aka it's easy to go make a Netflix movie if you're big, they write you a check. In spite of that lack of adversity, they will still push to do the best possible thing they can, rather than just delivering on a job. um, Whereas if you're making a movie that's going to play in theaters and all that stuff, it's got to rock the socks off of the whole world to even stand a chance of getting any box office, any attention. Um, and in getting that attention, you could see yourself making more money and getting more acclaim, versus Netflix, where it just doesn't matter.
Maybe that is the difference.
Or just you just got to go above and beyond as a filmmaker in order to achieve even something good. To make something great, you got to be a little crazy and driven, especially when there's no reward at the end of the cycle. I mean, Netflix has just started instituting their arbitrary um, reward if 20% of viewers watch it within 6 weeks or something. That was a year of negotiation from SAG and the Writers Guild. Um, but I mean, very few Netflix shows or movies will achieve that. So it's crazy to even go for that. So you have to be going for the gold just to make something great, which is a noble pursuit. But most of the time, you end up with just content. So much of this stuff is just content. So we have to search outside of these stupid garbage streamers to find the gold. It's out there. It's our job as film lovers to dig. I hate it, but it's true.
Yeah. All right. So I had one other, uh, again, not really resolution, but thing I'd like to see for the filmmaking community in this new year. And that is I want to see more from not just actors, not from producers, not just directors. I want to see more from everyone that's involved in the whole filmmaking process. We always see at the end of a movie, it's a giant list of people involved in the miracle of filmmaking. I mean, it really does take a town, a village to bring certainly a feature film to life, especially one that's a bigger production. And we don't see enough one recognition for all the people involved, but also I feel like we don't hear those voices. And one of the things that I'd like to see, and that's something that we want to start with some of the stuff and the initiatives that we have with Cinestruct, is to start, at least at the indie level, start raising up those voices. But as a industry and community as well, I want to see more from I mean, from the grips to to the gaffers that are like really just driving these productions. I want to see more from these folks because it really is a community, and we don't see a lot of the community being the focus of a lot of what we talk about when we talk about this industry. So that's big on my list for 2025. What do you think, Alex, on that front?
Absolutely. I completely agree. Um, they're the backbone of our industry is the 99%. The below the line supports all these big productions, makes them come together. They have brilliant creative ideas that uh, can often just be taken from them. I mean, I was reading about costume designers uh, who have designed iconic costumes that get sold as Halloween costumes for years and become these worldwide icons. And those costume people don't make any residuals. They don't make any money. They don't get any respect for doing those things. I mean, you can imagine how many multitudes have been more or less given the short end of the stick in that way. Uh, so I would like to also see them get more recognition. It would be really great to see them get recognition and restitution financially and be allowed to engage in profit sharing for those creations too. I know that's a lofty ideal, but that's a cool thing to dream of.
Yeah, I think that's the future that we want to see because I think the industry right now is, and honestly, I mean, that's what Hollywood is. I mean, it's always been lopsided where there is a lot of attention and a lot of financial reward for folks above the line, and
And
they're,
even they
yeah,
have to fight tooth and nail for anything. Most of
yeah,
them don't get anything except for
y-
the top of the tops.
yeah. So, and if even those folks have to fight for it, you can only imagine for everyone else. So, if as an industry we can just move towards just being even just 5 to 10% more inclusive in terms of spreading the wealth and recognition, I think it goes a long way for the health of this industry and this whole endeavor. So
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sharing.
Sharing is caring. I don't know what childhood cartoon I got that from, but I guess it stuck.
Yeah, sharing is caring for sure. Um, we're seeing increasingly uh, all the money is going to the top. It's getting worse and worse. Wealth inequality across the board is higher than it was um, during the French Revolution when the guillotines came out. So, what better place to start than the creative world of the film industry? Studios, corporations that run these streamers, they can share. We know they don't have to. We know that it's their CEO's literal job to make sure that they don't and that they take it from our pockets. But it sure would be nice if a little bit of moral integrity entered the chat because we're at that place as a society. We're at that place with capitalism. So here's to a new year where those types of changes start to get made and start to get demanded. We had the WGA and SAG um, protests. Uh, uh, we need more of that. We need more unions. We need more regulation, and we need less funneling of our money into the hoovers above us.
Yes, and the time to do it is right now,
Now,
2025. That's the year to start. Last year was the battle. This year is about reaping the rewards and spreading the wealth. That's what we want to see.
because, you know, the alternative is, you know, the guillotine.
And we don't want that.
I mean, I do.
You want that. I would like a peaceful revolution.
Yeah, that would be great. It's, hey, if it were up to us, that would be how things would resolve. But it ain't, it's up to the powers that be how they want to resolve this ongoing crisis.
2025, I hope we see so many good things, both on a personal level, but also on a professional level, also for this industry. Alex, do you have anything like projects that you're getting into for 2025 that you want to chat about?
I'm so excited about 2025. When I am feeling stir crazy, when I am uh, emotionally bound to this world around us, when things start to poke at the inner bear of my soul, um, I have my way of talking back, and that is through writing. So I've made a New Year's resolution to write an hour a day. every single day. I'm waking up early to do it. I'm 6 days in already. It feels grand because I'm already 25 pages deep into what has turned out to be a novel. At this pace, I'll be able to write, you know, 3 or 4 novels this year and maybe 5 screenplays just with an hour a day. So I, uh, my brain is just on fire. I have so much to say, so much to express, um, and the best way I can do that is on the written page so that those ideas can spread far and wide, and I can pick up a fresh screenplay, go shoot a movie of it, maybe even sell 1 or 2 so that other people can go make those movies too. I don't know. I'm just feeling incredibly inspired. Uh, the world has put a lot of pressure on me and the rest of the people around me. Everyone is under a lot of pressure right now. I'm using it to create diamonds.
Yes. That's what I love to hear, and I find that inspiring. Um, because I mean, what inspires me and Veronica and what we're everything that we're doing is just seeing creative people create because it is so challenging. And I guess for my New Year's resolution, I want to help as many independent creators as possible through everything that we're doing. Uh, I want to see filmmakers that have made stuff break through and reach an audience that they never thought they would find. You know, I want to see filmmakers go from being unknown to getting out there to the world. That's what I want to see. So, 2025, I'm feeling positive. I want to see, Alex, I want to see you sell every single thing that you write. That's what I want to see. So, it's coming. 2025, it's here. We're ready for it. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Please share in the comments what your resolutions are. We want to see what the film community and what the creative community is looking forward to. So with that, we're signing off and we'll catch you on the next one.